sai, or the Okinawan fighting swords. Okay? These can be used in the outward position to stab, chop, block, strike. They can be used in the closed position as armor to protect, to strike with the blunted end, to come in with an elbow with the point. Okay? Same basic thing. I'm going to show the application of these techniques. Now note that I have to enter. He has extension. So on all these techniques, I have to enter with my block. Hup. Hup. Yaws. Cross block. Hup. Lower block. Hup. From the open position, outward block. Hup. Cross block. Hup. Yes! And lower block. Hup. Yes! Hey. The final part of my demonstration will be the Tokamina bow or fighting bow of Okinawa form. This is the first bow form you learn at the black belt level, contains all the important fighting movements. I'd like to, before I begin this bow form, just leave you all with a quote from one of my favorite philosopher poets. For those who don't know, I was a philosophy major here at U of M 20 years ago, but I still was. Goethe, the German philosopher, once said, "Whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and majesty in it." And I leave that to all the people who I see coming up. Whatever you dream you can do or think you can do, do it, and it will take off in your life. Okay, this is Tokamina bow.
Demonstration will be presented by Mr. Mark Zarumba. Mr. Zarumba was also recently promoted to the rank of Godan, or 5th degree black belt, and was additionally awarded the title of Renshi, or warrior teacher. Today he will be demonstrating a series of traditional Okinawan Shorin-ryu, karate-do, joint locks, and throwing techniques.
Okay. The Shorin-ryu locking series consists of combinations of joint locks, takedowns, pins, and chokes. And this series has been handed down and refined through several generations of Okinawan Shorin-ryu karate-do instructors. And here it is practiced at the advanced level in the karate-do system. Before I get started with the actual demonstration, since I'm sure many of you don't know too much about these concepts, I'd like to illustrate what I mean by all those techniques I just mentioned. And if we haven't worn out Mr. Colossi too much in the previous two demonstrations, I'd like to use them. First of all, when we talk about joint locks, what we're referring to is taking, unfortunately I'm not going to be able to let everybody see everything, I'll do the best I can, but taking a lock taking a joint through the range of its motion until that joint does not want to move any farther. Okay, at that point, if I continue to apply force, a couple of things happen. First of all, he goes up on his toes, and actually the reason he's doing that is because it hurts and he's trying to find some way of protecting that joint and keep it from hurting. And the second thing that happened, and you probably noticed it, is slaps. Slapping is a universal symbol universal symbol in the Asian martial arts of submission. It just means basically the same thing as uncle. I think I've had enough of this. Could we do something else? Okay, good. From here, a takedown is pretty self-explanatory. It's any technique that takes the uke down to the mat. And from here, if I want to keep them down there, I use a pin. Okay, why don't you go try to get up? Okay, there's a you can use joint locks as parts of pins also, which is what we did there. Okay, good. I'd like to mention a little bit more about the locks. If we lock slowly, we give the uke time to react to the lock and move his body in a direction where he can diminish the pain, which tends to be the direction I want him to go in. I want him to go this way in a slightly unbalanced way. If I do it nice and slowly, he doesn't have any problem doing that. Okay, if I do the lock quickly, one of three things will probably happen. Number one, if he's an untrained person and I lock him quickly, then in all probability some kind of joint damage is going to occur to him. Okay. In a trained person, if I get that lock about halfway on, he starts to realize this is not going to be good for me. I better find some way of dealing with this. And in that case, that's at that point you start to see some of what appear to be spectacular throws. I'm not really taking this whole 75 pounds, and just whipping it over my body like we sometimes picture in the Saturday morning cartoons. But rather what I'm doing is I'm simply encouraging him to leap by himself over his whole own hand or suffer the consequences of it. His third reaction, and this is I'm increasing in the direction of what he probably want to do. His third possible reaction is to escape from the lock. And that's what you'll be seeing through parts of this demo that I'm going to do. In this case, if I try to force him to go that way with the lock, he knows an escape. Okay. So he went in the direction of the lock quicker than I could respond to, and consequently, he managed to avoid that lock. The locking series consists of 7 sets of techniques. Each set begins with a particular lock, and I'm going to do that one very slowly to kind of clue you in that we're starting a new set of techniques. And the early couple of sets of techniques are very simple. They're just a simple progression of one lock, one takedown, and one pin. And after that, we start to get into more interesting progressions that involve chokes, and also will involve escapes and my counters to the escapes, and his escape from my counter, and so on. Okay, good. Thank you very much. Technique number 1, wrist lock. We'll just keep moving around and give you guys the benefit of being able to see what we're going to do. Okay, again, wrist lock. Technique number 2, straight arm whip. To the taper. Good. Technique number 3, chicken headlock. Okay, at this point, he's going to try and escape. And the escape is if he can pull his elbow out, and I'm going to give him a chance to do this. I'm going to apply the lock, give him a chance to pull his elbow out as if I hadn't quite gotten the lock on, at which point I will do counter. I forgot to mention that part of it. A choke. Chokes are techniques where I attack the blood supply to his brain. Okay, the vein arteries on either side of the neck. I'm not attacking his throat. I'm attacking the arteries on either side of the neck. And as I do that, you can get a pretty quick response if you do it correctly. If you do it correctly and hold on, you might get the person might become unconscious, and even if you don't really hold on, don't quite get it right, it's rather unpleasant, and it distracts a person from what you might have wanted to do. Okay. So from here, technique number 4, elbow lock. Okay, again, elbow lock to the pin. Okay, go for my eyes. One more time. That really hurts. I had this done to me a lot. It really hurts. And consequently, Mr. Claus is not going to want to let me do that a whole lot more to him than like just about as many times as we've done it. So he's going to even escape. I'm not sure how many people can see this. Okay, from here, I am going to try to get the lock, and before I can really get it, he's going to bend his arm. Once he does that, there's no longer any way I can attack the nerves above that elbow the way I've been doing it. But there is something else. At this point, I have pretty decent control over him by locking his elbow and working against his wrist. But still, I feel a little safer in a position with him on his stomach. So the next part of the progression. Okay, good. Technique number 5, chicken wing lock. Okay, from here, he has an escape from that technique, which is to, again, go in the direction of the lock and clinch. Same thing. Okay, good. From there, I have counters. Neck lock. And that one really hurts too. So he's going to try to get up quicker than I can get down. I kind of knew he was going to do that. There's another choke. Okay, good. Number 6. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Second half of number 5. There's a similar lock. You again put the same lock, slightly different way of getting it. From underneath. Here. Scott watching this suggested that we go over this again real slow. Here's what we're going to do. Lock. Take down. Lock the elbow. Lock the wrist. Lock the other arm. Finally choke. Now, a couple of us, when we saw this series the first time, thought, why are we giving up 3 perfectly good locks to take a chance on another choke? And you might be having that question too, and it's a good question. And the answer that I like is you're displaying a range of possible attacks. And you're not going to be able to get everything every time. You might only be able to get one of them, but you should be able to get something. And another way of looking at it is you're increasingly getting techniques that are stronger and more safe for you. Number 6, XY. To EQ. If you're watching closely in the pin-on demonstration, you saw this technique hidden in the bunkai, or hidden in the form. Okay, good. Again, slowed down. What you may or may not have seen was 2 escapes and counters on my part. And they were, he bends his arm so I can't get the lock. I'm going for another lock, and as I start to apply it, he turns out. Okay, good. You'll see those 2 counters, plus you'll see 1 more counter in this final version. Okay, good. The last set of techniques begins actually with a takedown rather than with a lock, so we can't show it quite as slowly. Possible counters to that technique are at least 2. Number 1, first of all, what have I tried to do? I've tried to take him down his weak line, down a weak line, and then just continue on around. And so what he can do is he can make that stronger by stepping in that direction in a horse stance. At that point, I can do this all day, and I'm not going to get a whole lot of success. But I know what the counter. Secondly, another choice is to block me from getting in close. If I can't get in close, then I can't get the leverage I need to pull the technique off. So as I come in, he blocks my hip. Counter. Good. We're both in kind of an equal position, except I'm a little bit better. But as Mr. Scott says, you always try to put yourself in a position where you can't lose. And there's a position that's even a little better than that. Thank you very much. Okay, I got a couple of final closing comments. Number 1, I know you've heard this before. do not try these techniques at home. And that isn't, I'm not saying that in jest either. These techniques are potentially very dangerous techniques. Some of them are potentially very, very dangerous techniques. And they're not something you should be doing as an untrained person, which is the reason these techniques are taught only to senior students in the Karate Do program, because senior students have developed this sense of balance and control that you need to apply these locks safely. In addition, carrying on with Dr. Samwise's theme, you require a training partner who is very controlled, and in fact, in a way, just as controlled and just as skillful as you are in these techniques. And I'd like to recognize Mr. Kalasa, who's doing a fine job. I'd like to recognize Mr. Cobb, Mr. Hahn, because you may not realize this, but I know definitely from my own personal experience that it is much harder to be the uke in a kata, in one kata, let alone 5 kata, and know where your technique, where you have to be attacking from at every instant. That's very difficult. It's a lot harder than they made it look. They trained hard, and that's the reason they pulled it off. So, a hand off. Finally, not quite finally, I think I speak for, again, carrying on with the theme of Dr. Samwise, I speak for everyone here that we just owe so much of a debt to Mr. Scott for, for specifically for his help on this demo. And I know I personally, my demo wouldn't have looked too good if he hadn't come down here and said, why don't you try that one different? You look like you're locking your own arm. And I was, too. But in addition, just the fact that Mr. Scott's been able to maintain the gym for all these years, I know that's not easy. That's the more I know, the more I learn, the more I know. The job description for that position is something that's awesome, and I don't even dream of being able to have half of those skills that are needed. And finally, last but not least, I'd like to say that I am quite honored to be able to be sharing a demonstration with Dr. Samwise, who's an old friend of mine, and we go back quite a few years. I know we went to osteopathic school, and there was some question whether he's going to come back or not. And I think I speak for everyone that knows him. I think we're all glad he came back. And in addition, I've told him a couple of times, related an anecdote to him, and he keeps kind of just saying, nah, you gotta be kidding. But I'll tell all you real yeah, when Dr. Samwise made Showdown in Aiki, he started teaching his own class here at the gym on a different day in Aiki, and I remember those classes very well, and got quite a bit of enjoyment out of being in them, and I just say that I hope that we'll continue to have your teaching presence here at the gym. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you're filing out today, please try to do so in an orderly fashion, be patient. Sometimes it takes a few minutes to put your shoes back on. Thank you.